Okay, welcome everyone. I call the Finance and Budget Committee meeting for July to order. First, I have asked Vice Chairman J.P. Duncan to do the prayer and pledge.
If you'll please stand with me. Father God, we praise you for your goodness. God, we are thankful for Christ Jesus and his perfect life and death on the cross and resurrection and payment for our sins. God, we pray for wisdom on the court. God, as we oversee the budget, Lord, help us make good decisions on the behalf of Washington County. And God, we are just thankful for the opportunity to serve and, God, to worship a good God like you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.P. Duncan. Are there any changes to the agenda? I believe I have an addition to make. If you have a hard printed item 21-0-79, and it's an appropriation ordinance for the road department. I would entertain a motion to add that to the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by J.P. Essery,
Second.
second by J.P. Duncan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That will be item number 19. Are there any other additions to the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by J.P. Johnson, second by J.P. Simons. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is adopted. Okay, now for our regular reports. We'll start with Treasurer Hill.
Is that on?
Got you now.
All right, straight into 4.1, Treasurer's Financial Summary. General Road and Jail all have, June's not known as a great month for revenue, but those three, our main three funds, have healthy balances. Draw your attention down to 3046 American Rescue Plan. The money did finally come in mid-month, over $23 million in that account. Let's see. And the top of page 5, we ended the month with $88.5 million in the bank, but again, that's helped greatly by the rescue plan money. 4.2, County General Fund, property taxes, another good, healthy month for the general fund. If you remember, last year was Assessor Hill's office. They did countywide reappraisals, so now we're seeing results of that. 4.3, 1 cent sales tax, another outstanding month. This is for April collections, and like last month, I attribute most of that to the stimulus checks received in March, and also still no U.S. Census numbers officially, so we continue to receive our 18.4% of the 1 cent. That's 27% this month. 833,000 came in, and through 6 months, we're already 611,000 over the same period last year. 4.4 quarter-cent jail tax, 15% above last year at this time. Through the year, through 6 months, 830,000 growth over 2020. So if you take General Road and Jail, that's $1.5 million growth that we've seen just through 6 months. 4.5, the local distribution of the sales tax. Bars and clothing stores, as far as percentages, had the biggest increase, but you will remember last year at this time, bars were pretty much shut down, so that could go nowhere but up. But sporting goods, restaurants, e-shopping all continue to be strong. 4.6, the half-cent sales tax for roads. Another good month for them, almost 29% over last year, 180,000 came in. Finally, 4.7, quarter-cent radio tax. Collections are now over. The 1 year has been completed. There is a 2-month lag, so we will get a distribution in July and August. But as far as collections, that tax is over. That is all I have.
Questions for Treasurer Hill? JP Duncan?
Treasurer Hill, I was looking at 4.5 and makes sense. The drinking places 316% increase when bars were closed largely last year. Do you have a view of 2019 numbers? I'm just curious what the increases look like, if there are any, to 2019. And the reason I ask that is in retail, we're looking a lot at sales versus 2019 month over month.
Yeah. I have that in my office, and I can get it to you.
Okay.
I don't have it right now. But
Just curious.
all right.
Thanks.
I'll send it.
Additional questions for Treasurer Hill? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Employees Insurance Report, Mr. Driver.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We've got another good month in the Employee Health Fund. We increased from the first of the month to the end of the month by $10,860. And from December 31 of 20, so start January 1 of this year through the end of June, we have increased the health fund by $354,311, which is a stark improvement over any time that we've had in the past with the Employee Health Fund. The changes that were implemented and the changes that were made that went into effect in 2016 are working at this point. Again, and I sound like a broken record because it seems like I say this every month, I'm not recommending any changes as far as the funding mechanism. What we've got right now appears to be working, and it appears to be working well. As you know from past experience, November, December are the telling times, because after someone has already met all their deductibles and co-pays, that's when they usually choose to have procedures done under elective basis and this type of thing. So we really won't know until after the first of the year what December is going to look like. But right now, we're healthy, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Thank you, Mr. Driver.
You're welcome.
Questions for Mr. Driver? JP Johnson? Just a second. JP Johnson, just a second. We can't. Did he push his man?
Thank you, sir. We've heard lots of stories about leaky roofs and insurance claims. Can you bring us up to speed on where we are and how long this has been ongoing?
Well, the actual storm, to my recollection, happened in 2020 that tore up the roofs, the damage from the hailstorm. And it's been ongoing since then. We're in the process right now of negotiating with the claims adjusters and the insurance companies. And that's the information that I have at this point.
What is your prediction on when this will be resolved is my first question. And then my second question is, do you think we're doing everything we can do to mitigate the damages over there?
Yes, sir, I think we are doing everything we can to mitigate any further damage from the damage to the roofs. I think we're in a situation right now, from what I understand, that we're getting some second opinions over the original engineering report from the claims adjuster with the insurance company. And we're comparing those because some things, it appears, at least, were left out of the original engineering report of the claims damage, and that's not unusual. That's pretty normal period of time. Same thing when you're in an automobile claim or a homeowner's claim. They're going to uncover more, in all likelihood, once they get in and start affecting the repairs. This is going to be an ongoing situation, J.P. Johnson, that's going to take months in order to get this ferreted out and get it handled and done. I can't give you an exact deadline as to when all the repairs are going to be completed. You've got multiple buildings that were damaged, not just one or two.
Does the insurance company have any obligation in the period where they're trying to figure out what claim they're gonna pay?
Absolutely.
And what is their
They
obligation?
are on the hook, so to speak, to pay for the damages. They are in a situation from a claims adjusting standpoint, and this is insurance companies in general, not just the one that we happen to be dealing with. Insurance companies are going to attempt to settle a claim to get the repairs affected for the least amount of cost as they possibly can. You know that as well as I do. And that's where we are at this point. Their obligation is to effect the repairs according to the contract. And that's really all I can tell you at this point. We're in an ongoing conversation with them to get the things rolling, get it done, and get it taken care of before we have more damage. I don't think that answers your question.
No, it doesn't, but thank you, and I'll ask again next month.
Sure, you bet. Thank you.
Additional questions for Mr. Driver? Thanks, Sheriff. Just a second, Mr. Driver. I'm sorry, I cut you loose too early. JP Washington?
Thank you. So I have a question for you, Mr. Driver. What has been done to mitigate the leaking and the further water damage?
Well, they're going to do everything they can, obviously, to stop any leakage by effecting temporary repairs, patches, and these types of things on the damaged portions of the roof. That's normal procedure. The county or the homeowner, any of us, has an obligation under the insurance contract to prevent further damage. That's our job to do that. Once we recognize it and once we've got a problem, that can include affecting temporary patches on a roof to moving interior contents out of the way to prevent them from becoming further damaged from leaking water or falling debris. And that's what are being affected at this point.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Driver.
Are you sure?
I hope. Item number 8, Comptroller's Report. Comptroller Worthen?
Okay. Item 6.1 is summary statement of operations, expenses. Through June, we should be around 50%. And on page 14 for general fund, we're at 43.2% actual expenditures. And then over on page 18, overall for all budgets, we're at 37.5% actual expenses. And for item 6.2, unappropriated reserve balance report, there's 2 ordinances last month that affected unappropriated reserves, and down at the bottom, our net general is sitting at $5,800,000. And that's all I had.
Questions for Comptroller Worthen? Thanks, sir. Item number 7. Was it 2019? I believe we as a court passed a per capita jail fee to partner with our municipalities to help with the jail overruns and the funding we've received. And I invited Treasurer Hill here this evening to kind of overview that, especially for the new members on the court. As we jump into the budget, one of the things you're going to see is that the the jail always budgets into a deficit, and I believe this mechanism is important for us to understand as we start moving through the budget process. Treasurer Hill, I'll let you take it from here.
All right. On the ordinance, just as background, this came about mainly due to two factors. One was, since 2012, the general fund has given or transferred to the jail fund $5.6 million for the jail to make their budget during that time. It's been a lot better lately, but that was the first reason for the ordinance. And the second reason's more a matter of fairness. City of Fayetteville was paying us for prisoner care. Springdale had their own jail, but we weren't charging the smaller cities. And then Springdale closed their jail. We're going to start bringing their prisoners to the county jail. So that's when the judge met with the mayors to see about this per capita, and it was agreed upon that, I mean, this is a voluntary, if a city doesn't want to do this, they can opt out and pay just the daily fee, which is $63.12 according to this ordinance. So it is, I mean, you're going to pay one way or the other, but it's a voluntary ordinance. Let's see. And just FYI, the last time general did transfer to jail was 2019, and that was just for $50,000. So, and I don't anticipate any money going there this year unless something drastic happens. On the per capita jail fee section, I think it's a couple of pages over, Patty. Yes, right there. This is what I give the judge, and he invoices the cities for this. This is just an example. If you look down in the middle, it says 200,000 base number. That was the loss of the Fayetteville city revenue. So there's no need to try to find more revenue while cutting out revenue. So that's the base number every year is the city loss from Fayetteville. That's 200,000. And then whatever the general fund transfers to county jail is added to that. So in this example, 200,000 was about the average that Fayetteville was sending us every year for prisoner housing. And then the 500,000, that's 700,000 total. Then, of course, you just do the total dollars divided by the population, and that gives you the dollars per capita. And if you notice that top line, Washington County is also included. We wanted to take as much pressure we could off the cities, so having us there makes it less for the cities to have to pay. And I use actual dollars. So the per capita fee I will prepare this year will be for 2020 actual money, and that's only going to be the 200,000 that Fayetteville, the loss of Fayetteville revenue that we do every year. So it won't be much. Everybody will be paid a lot less, or we'll be paying a lot less than this example shows as far as the 2022 budget. Let's see. So in the first year we did it, 2020, it was 608,000. Last year's was 250,000, and this year is going to be 200,000 per capita fees divided amongst us and all the cities. Let's see. I believe about covers it as far as an overview of it.
So mechanically, correct me if I'm wrong, in any given year, the general fund, if the jail exceeds, would have to front that money. And we go subsequent to the year and collect it back from the cities. That's correct, right?
We're about a year and a half behind, actually. But that, on this budget sheet, you'll see, and you've seen it for several years now, the negative up here on the general that has to pay, that's what jail's overage is on their budget. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to spend that. We haven't the last 2 years, but that's
a projected overage.
That's where it would be
Yeah,
drawn from.
budgeted overage.
Yes, that's true.
JP Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question, and I probably should know this, but I don't know what this means, loss of Fayetteville city revenue. What does that mean?
Okay,
What does it
before
represent?
all the per capita jail fees, before this even became a thing, Fayetteville paid us to house their prisoners. They didn't have a jail,
Okay,
so they paid us. And so when this all started, Fayetteville wasn't going to be paying that 200,000 anymore. They were going to go by whatever their apportionment was on this.
So
But
so
that
the
was
number
200
on the spreadsheet for Fayetteville is 256,000. Is that what they would pay?
On this example, like I said, this is just an example. I
Okay,
just
so
threw
it's
numbers.
kind of, this is the gross amount they would pay, and we're just noting that we would have gotten 200,000 from them
That's-
in the
that's
past.
That's the loss of revenue. In this example, they would pay a little more, but they paid 222,000 the first year, and then last year they paid 91,000. And
Okay,
this year they're gonna pay less than that, so.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Essentially, Fayetteville had an agreement with the county prior to this ordinance to give us a flat fee of $200,000 a year. And so,
Well, that was average over a few years.
so when we replaced it with this ordinance, we lost that revenue because Fayetteville came in under the new system. Does that make sense? Any other questions for Treasurer Hill on this? Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Item number 8, I've invited both Comptroller Worthen and Treasurer Hill here tonight, and what we're doing is we're going to introduce the budgets. So starting out, this will be a broad overview. It's meant to get us started, so I would ask if you have specific questions about specific budgets you might get with that elected official. Tonight, we're just going to go over some broad stuff, some broad overviews, and some metrics that we're seeing. So I will let Comptroller Worthen and Treasurer Hill take it over.
It's gonna be up there. Okay. If you'll put that up there, I'll talk about my part. Okay, is that it? Okay, I'll go first on this budget summary. Generally, my part is the first 5 columns. Now, I know we've been over this before, but real quickly, I'll do it again. The 2022 projected carryover, that's what I expect to, well, what it says, carry over from 2021 into 2022. Then you have your new revenue on the second column. Add those together, 45 million on the general fund. By law, we have to, there are exceptions, but most cases you take 10%. That protects you in case the revenue doesn't come in as expected. That's a protection mechanism that we're required to do. And then the available to budget would be almost $41 million in the general fund for this year. And the biggest revenue sources, you have all sorts of fines, fees, that kind of thing. But for general, it's property tax and sales tax. For the road department, it's property tax, sales tax, and state turnback. And for the jail, it's sales tax and prisoner care. I figure all sales tax next year will not be as robust as this year. Just, I don't see how that can continue. But, and plus we're gonna, U.S. Census is gonna hit at some point, and that's gonna drop that sales tax too, so. Again, look down at 3020, emergency 911. For the first time, they're not gonna have enough revenue coming in to back their budget. These numbers are all gonna change. By October, they'll look different than this, but right now, they're 327,000 in the red, so to speak. And if that played out like that, general fund would have to make up any difference. A lot of counties, their general fund funds their 911, but we've been lucky enough over the years that it's taking care of itself, but this year looks to be the breaking point. But I know John Luther and the judge are looking at maybe the expense side of it, having Springdale and some of the cities pitch in, maybe. I shouldn't speak out of turn. I'll let them talk about that at some point. But let's see. Well, like I said, the revenue's coming in great now. I do expect a downturn in sales tax. Property tax still looks robust, as long as you don't have another 2008, 2009 bank situation. I think the property tax will be there for us, and the sales tax to some degree, but I think it won't be as good as it was in 2020 or 2021 so far, I don't think. But anyway, that's my portion on the summary. I gave you the revenue projections last month, I think, so you can take over.
And on the budget side, we've gotten all the budgets submitted from all the departments, and this includes, and this doesn't include any raises, capital or personnel requests. And then it should be posted online now, all the detail for the finance packet. And so it's available there, and then if anybody wants a hard copy binder, we can get that for you.
Speak up a little bit. Will you, Comptroller Worthen?
Okay. So there's the budget, all the detailed budgets are online on the public website. And then if any quorum court members want a hard copy binder, we can get that for you.
We'll take any questions anybody might have.
Go over a couple things for you. Kind of give you my method to my madness for the members here. When I requested budgets, I tried to get them, I used the term vanilla, or where that was the budget for operations, okay? Any additional capital expenditures or additional personnel, I requested to be requested outside of the budget booklet. That's what this page right here that Comptroller Worthen has pulled up will give you. It's page number 10 in your budget booklets if you have it. So in every budget, there's a column here over here on the right section on the left, there's new personnel requests, and on the right is new capital expenditure requests. So what we have here is new spending, if you will. Does that make sense? If you go back to the budget summary, if we did nothing and we approved none of those new spending measures, there is a general fund reserve balance unappropriated of $5.47 million. So the way I look at that is, that's what we have to cover this new spending. Does that make sense? Now there's big issues out here that are left open on purpose because we need to debate and consider those. It's these new spending measures that are on this sheet. We have the sheriff's step raises, which Comptroller Worthen sent out a summary of that today on our email, or he sent it to me, I believe. Those are projected to be around $210,000. And then we have the employee raises. That'll be a big possible spending measure too. And Comptroller Worthen had given us some of those summaries last time. That's pretty small, but if you can see down here in the bottom left corner, he's given us some breakouts of some 1, 2, 3, 4%. We can't read that, Comptroller Worthen, but what is 4%? That's $900 and something thousand, right?
Yes, this third page is just the general fund, since all this special project funds are pretty much self-funding. So this third page looks at just the general fund, and
This page is essentially the new spending that would hit the general fund. And then down at the bottom, scroll back, over here on the right, he's given us a synopsis of what each of those requests is.
yeah, like
And there'll be support for that in the budget book outside of the normal budget.
What page is that in the budget book?
this is newly created. Sorry, I just created it for this presentation.
You'll
but
forward
I-
that to all of them, all the JPs.
Yeah, I can do that. This kind of gives an overview of general fund, where this general fund, this amount here is what was on the budget summary page, and then if all the personnel requests are approved, it'd be 825,000, and then if all the capital and non-recurring expenditures are approved, it'd be 676,000. So general unappropriated reserves from the budget summary page is at 5.4 million, but then if y'all approve all the personnel requests, that's 825,000 less, and then the capital non-recurring expenses is 676,000.
Just a second, Comptroller Worthing. Can you zoom in on that one section down there so we might be able to see it on the screens a little better?
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So can y'all see that now? I can make it a little bigger if you need it. Or is that good?
I think that's good for right now.
Okay. Then elected official raises, the circuit clerk is in the special project fund, so his isn't in there, but all the rest are in general fund. And then the step raises, there's some in jail that are in the special project funds, but those are all come out of general since they're in the negative, so the full 210,000 there. And then there's for the other employee raises, there's 1%, 2%, 3%, and 4%. So I've just plugged in the 4% here, 961,000 from there to here, and you could just do the math for less or more, then that would give us our ending general unappropriated reserves at 2.7 million if everything was approved. So that's kind of the overview of the main thing that y'all have control over, which is general fund. Then like JP Deacon said, the first page is just more the operating with no raises, none of the personnel requests, and none of the raises in there, and then none of the capital. And then depending on what y'all approve, the worst would be worst case scenario, the way things are presented now, would be 2.7 million or a little less if y'all go up to 5%, or a little more if you have less raises. But then there's also under consideration the grid shift in the pay grids and other things. But that's kind of the overview of how things look.
I would also add, just for the spirit of conversation, so you guys are aware when you're talking to elected officials, we've got some pretty big capital things coming down on us. We've got some building repairs that might become a reality. We know we need to add on to our JDC facility, and we know we need to do something at the correctional center. So what I'm saying is I'm not trying to spur the conversation one way or the other. I'm just trying to say, let's have the conversation and keep in mind all these different plates we're trying to spin while we look at these numbers over the next few weeks. I have committed this committee, and I'm going to try to keep up with that we address employee raises on the front end of the budget. I feel like we've neglected that in years past and left it as one of the final items, and I think maybe that's been a disservice to our employees. So I'm going to try to bring more information about that to the next committee meeting so that we will have that information and we can make decisions on where we want to go from in terms of raises. You using 4%, was that a message to us?
As an employee, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you didn't use 5. You're being, okay. All right. Any questions for Comptroller Worthen or Treasurer Hill? Okay. A couple more housekeeping items. I really invite you guys to scrutinize that new spending page especially. I mean, we need to roll through all the budgets and scrutinize them, but the new spending page, I really want you to scrutinize that, get involved with the elected officials and ask your questions, and we need to make some tough decisions on those if we think we can fund all those. I have submitted new dates to Miss Patty, and she'll be sending those out. I'm calling 4 additional budget meetings in July and August. And those dates will be July the 20th, July the 29th, August the 24th, and August the 31st. I'm going to divide up the budgets per night, and I'll try to do that and get that to Miss Patty as soon as possible so that you will see what budgets we will hear on those nights. All the dates, once again, are July 20th, July 29th, August 24th, and August 31st. And of course, we will have our regular August committee meeting at our regular date. Comptroller Worthen touched on it. All the JPs who have requested printed budgets to this point have received them. If you did not receive one and you would like one, please let Ms. Patty know. There are electronic versions available on the Comptroller's website, on the Comptroller's section of the county website. Any more questions for this item? Thank you, gentlemen. All right. On to new business of ordinances. Item number 9 is an ordinance appropriating $18,000 from the Coronavirus Relief Fund to the machinery and equipment line item in the coroner budget for 2021. I'm going to let Coroner Morris join us and explain this expenditure. I believe he could do it more service than I could.
Okay. Did you get a picture of that? Itty bitty, isn't it? Anyway, this trailer here, back during the pandemic, or the main part of the pandemic, our office put in play SOPs with all the medical institutions from nursing homes, hospitals, and we controlled all the deaths, which we continue to do. During this time, we worked a lot with the Northwest Medical Coalition. We had to use the trailer from the Arkansas State Crime Lab about 4 or 5 times during that. And once we were able to take it back, we approached the coalition, and basically they approached us also. And we were going to do like a matching grant for a morgue unit for the assistance that we did. And but to help us out on insurance and stuff, they went ahead and purchased a trailer, and we house it, and it's under Washington County. Okay, so they bought the trailer. It's worth $30-some-odd-thousand trailer. I can't remember the exact amount, which I can't thank them enough. This photo here is when Judge Wood and I accepted the trailer. The trailer came with everything from the cooler unit, lighting systems, everything. The only thing it does not have is our interior. It does not have our racks inside, our body beds, things of this nature, our ramp. So what I'm coming to the quorum court for is this money to fix the inside. Now, what we're doing with this to make it feasible for even other offices, such as our disaster emergency management or any other office, instead of getting stationary equipment, we're getting rollers, okay? Each one of these beds are like 3-tier high, and they're on a roller. So we're gonna be able to attach them to the wall. When that trailer's not being used, we're gonna be able to take those out and put them and use them in our cooler. So we're gonna get double use out of them. So that's saving money. Also, it's gonna allow us to pull everything out if, say, Disaster Emergency Management or Washington Regional or Northwest needs a cooler trailer for supplies or something. We have one available that we can get the racks all out of it that they could use. So it's gonna give us more mobility for that trailer. But we have the only morgue trailer in this area. The closest one from here, I believe, is in Little Rock, and the other one is in Jonesboro, if I remember correctly. And their coalition bought that one for them. So like I say, if you see the Northwest Arkansas Medical Coalition, shake their hand, thank them. This is a blessing in disguise. It's a beautiful trailer. What we're gonna also be using this trailer for is assistance. Like say Benton County has let's just throw this, a plane wreck because they've got the airport. Or they have something else, we got the university. Fort Smith has something happen. We're gonna utilize our equipment to also help them, whether it be Madison County, Benton County, Sebastian County, or even someone calls us across the state, we'll be able to help them. But we're gonna be able to use this equipment, like I say, more ways than one, so we're not just sticking it in one unit. So we're gonna be able to save money that way.
Thank you, Coroner Morris. Are there any questions for the coroner? I'd entertain a motion. I'm sorry. JP Duncan.
Can we use American Rescue Plan funding for this? Is that possible?
I don't think we know for sure yet. The quick answer is no. And so I'll have to say that Coroner Morris brought this to our attention maybe a couple months ago, and I delayed him until this point to see about the American Rescue Plan funding, if that would become available. And I think we're too early at this point to know. And then also, I think this is a timing issue for the coroner because we know, unfortunately, there might be an uptick in cases as we move into the fall, and I want him to be outfitted with this.
Exactly. If I may say something, we did. We've been running about 40 hours here lately. We picked up 7 in the last few days. We are having just a little bit of uptick here. Our facilities are starting to fill up again. We're getting a lot of transplants from up north from Missouri. But so far, our deaths that we've had over the last 3 or 4 days have been Washington County residents, unfortunately. So we're going, we have 1 cooler full now, and we have 2 in our other cooler. So we're gonna, there's a good chance if they have another outbreak or if we have something major happen, we're gonna be full up again. So, and we can actually use, if we need to, for emergency, we've got a few beds that we bought previously that we could use if we needed to, but we're using them on our coolers now because they're on rollers.
Thank you, Mr. Coroner Morris. JP Simons?
Thank you, Chair. Coroner Morris, we've got an agenda full of several grants tonight. Have we looked and worked with our grants department to see if there's any grants available to provide for these?
I've worked with our grants before. Grants for coroners are really hard to find. I've only known of Daniel to come across one years ago. I haven't talked with her here lately, but I know that at one time prior to pandemic, we were working together on a few things that she was looking, and I don't believe we ever found anything. But I know I had thought about reaching out to maybe some organizations to see if they want to do a grant for a tax deduction or some of that nature. But again, I think we're on a time restraint right now. I think we're sitting on a time bomb. Because one thing is you don't know when you're going to get it. If you remember, we passed to get money for 2 gurneys not too long ago. You know when I'm getting them gurneys? Middle of 2022. I don't need them 2022. I need them now.
JP Wilson?
Move for the approval of this ordinance number 21-0-068 and forwarding to the full quorum court.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court. Do I have a second? Second by JP Usry. Any further discussion? Any public comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? This item number 9 is passed to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 10, an ordinance expressing appreciation for county employees working in the coroner's office during COVID and appropriating $10,454.07 from the coronavirus relief fund to various line items in the coroner budget for 2021. This ordinance is to reward the coroner's staff like we did the detention officer staff. I believe it was JP Usry that mentioned a while back that he thought that that was along the same lines of risk, and so this ordinance will give them the same COVID bonus that we gave the detention officers. Any discussion? JP Duncan?
Yeah, I know we have the American Rescue Plan funding that will soon be available, and I read some of the guidelines, and I know that, or at least it seems what I've read so far, that this type funding request could come from the American Rescue Plan. So my perspective is let's utilize that money rather than pulling from the coronavirus relief fund where that's unrestricted and we could use that to do a capital project or do whatever we want with it, whereas the American Rescue Plan has to be very specific.
JP Washington?
Thank you. This, it may just be a Scribner's error, but on line 32, it just has a net total of $25 and not $25 per pay period. I know that may not affect the overall ordinance, but I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Yes, I believe you can correct that. Yes, sir.
Can I say something?
Treasurer Hill?
Just a point of clarification, it's still a work in progress, American Rescue Plan. There's language in there that says the American Rescue Plan starts March 31st, or whenever it was approved by the administration. So you can't go back and pay for before that. Now, after starting up sometime in March, going through now, there's language in it to do that, but that might be confusing on this as early as it is, and they still haven't come out with their final rules about it yet. So doing anything right now, I don't know, because anything we do that's not right, we have to pay back. So thank you.
I would add that my conversations with Treasurer Hill, and this goes back to the Arkansas Association of Counties and the National Association of Counties, I think we're being very much persuaded not to touch that money yet until the further guidelines are released and become more formalized. And that, along with Treasurer Hill's comments, I would like to go ahead and take care of the coroner's staff and bring them up to par with the detention officers. Do I have a motion?
Chairman, I move we pass this on to the quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass by J.P. Johnson. Second by J.P. Wilson. Any further discussion? Any public comments?
Thank you, Roger Morris, coroner. Just want to say one thing. Thank you for doing that. You have to understand, these people, we don't have shifts. Well, they're working 24/7. We go in somewhere, and like the sheriff talked about it, whenever they were getting theirs. You know, we're PPP'd out. We, you know, taking home to wives and kids, and they're, you know, a lot of these nights are not home, you know, because we're running, we're double bagging, we're making sure things are sanitized, we're making sure we talk with the funeral homes, the families, et cetera, prior to releasing these bodies. So there's lots of long hours in this, and not a one of them complained one time. You have a real good staff down there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Additional public comments? I see none. I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Johnson, a second by J.P. Wilson. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item 10.1 moves to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 11 is a discussion of elected official salaries and compensation at the request of J.P. Wilson. J.P. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've handed out to the members of the committee a spreadsheet that indicates that 4 out of our 8 countywide officials are already at 100%. You'll recall that back in 2016, the then quorum court passed a situation where people slowly progressed. They started out at 80% if they were elected to a countywide official position, and it took roughly 9 years or so to achieve 100%. With our having 4 out of 8 already at 100%, it's obvious that that's where we think that we need to be as a county. I assume we don't think we need to roll back from that. And so the only issue is how quickly our officials achieve that level. In my way of thinking, once the voters of our county have elected people to those positions, again, we've already decided 100% of the level 7 pay is where they need to be. So my recommendation is that we just go ahead and move the rest of our countywide officials to that 100% level. You should have had at your place a revised ordinance, I think it's 2016-068 or something like that, and 2016-68. So this revision would do away with those steps or those 2.5% increases per year and starting it out at 80%. And so if we adopt that, and if we do this, in my way of thinking, doing this as a part of our budget process, we do budget controls each year normally. And so if we just go ahead and take this into consideration as we do this budget, the additional cost above the $55,000 that was displayed a minute ago would be approximately $27,450 to bring those other 4 individuals up to that 100% level. And that is my recommendation to the committee.
Thank you, J.P. Wilson. Any discussion? Any questions for J.P. Wilson? J.P. Essery?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think this through a little bit, and I know that the reason that's the way it is because the longer you're in office, the more experience you get. And I understand, but I'm just a little, I just know that the longer people are here, the lot more that they're able to do, and they're remediated accordingly. So I'm not, I'm a little uncomfortable doing this whenever the people that have been here for such a long time, they had to go through that process, obviously, to get there. That over time, they get better, and so they should be remediated more. That's just kind of my thinking on that. Thank you.
J.P. Wilson?
I understand what you're saying, sir, but when the voters determine that they're going to hire somebody to be a county sheriff or a treasurer or whatever, then that's the decision that makes the difference. They're the ones that hire them, not us. And it's just, for us, just a matter of then how do we implement the pay? So once the county voters have hired that individual, that's why I believe that we need to go ahead and do this, starting it out at 80%. If we believe that 100% is the correct amount, then that's why I've suggested this.
I have a question just about history. I mean, we know that especially like the judge's term and the sheriff, they moved to 4-year terms. There was never any change or reflection in the county for that change from 2-year to 4-year term. I'm not even sure what change would be appropriate, but I'm just saying we never revisited this in the budget controls. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
believe that's correct, and that it didn't, the other 2016-68 reflected the 2.5%, if I'm not mistaken. And so we've just taken it upon the Quorum Court has taken upon itself to do it, try to implement that, if you know what I'm saying. And so I think this change to 2016-68 would take care of that and, again, take them to 100%. So that's what I've suggested.
Any further discussion or questions? JP Wilson?
Mr. Chairman, my only question is whether this committee can just take care of this through the budget process, or if we need to vote to move in that direction. Can you instruct us on
I think
that?
we can either do it through ordinance or through the budget controls process. County Attorney's shaking his head. He's correcting me. No, sir? Come up. Can you answer that for JP Wilson?
I believe that since it was done via ordinance, you would need to amend the ordinance. And I know the budget ends up being an ordinance of itself, but because this was an individual ordinance in addition to the budget ordinance, my suggestion would be that you amend that ordinance.
By passing the new 2016-68 that you
Right,
provided.
the one that you've got up here for consideration. Because basically,
Okay.
you're getting rid of that 2016-68, and you're changing to 100% for all, and then that would be incorporated into your budget controls as well.
Okay, so that new item number would be 21-0-078.
That's correct.
Is that correct? I move that we adopt this new ordinance and pass it on to the full quorum court for approval.
Okay, let me think about that. We need to suspend the rules and add it, do we not? We didn't have this in the agenda. I believe the correct motion is a motion to suspend the rules, and would we then suspend the rules to pass this item, or suspend the rules to add it and then make a motion to pass?
Arguably, you have a discussion on the agenda about it, but you did not approve adding this particular, ordinance to the agenda. So you would need to suspend the rules to amend the agenda to add the ordinance. Then you could vote on passage of the ordinance on to the quorum court or not. So you just need to suspend the rules once, and if it's added, then the appropriate measure would then be to move for it to move on.
I move for the suspension of the rules to add it to the agenda.
Okay, I have a motion to suspend the rules and add item 21-0-078 to the agenda. Do I have a second? I have a second by JP Johnson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Do you have a motion, sir?
I move that we approve the ordinance 21-0-078 and send it on to the full quorum court.
I have a motion to pass by JP Wilson. Second by JP Johnson. Any further discussion or questions? Any public comments?
Good evening, Sarah Moore, Fayetteville, Arkansas. I don't have any reservations in regard to what we end up ultimately paying elected officials. My conversation and what I would really like to have a better understanding about is what the quorum court's guidance is in regard to how we compensate all county staff and elected officials. There's been different conversation about it needing to be merit. By the way that this ordinance is written today, basically, if you are reelected, it's basically saying you did a good job, so I'm electing you again, which in effect increases and gives you that merit raise. Are we looking at merit raises? We have additionally had ordinance come forward in regard to some of our highest paid elected officials and county staff, but we really at this point have not talked about those everyday county workers who are at our bottom paid, which I think we've heard is somewhere in the number of 70. And so I would just ask this body to really talk about compensation as a whole conversation, not piecemeal, and what our overall philosophy is going to be and what our guidance is in this budget process, so that we in the community understand what your decision-making process looks like across the board. Thank you.
Additional public comments? Seeing none, I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation by J.P. Wilson, a second by J.P. Johnson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 21-0-078 will move to the full quorum court. Item number 12 is a resolution supporting the construction of a playground at the Brentwood Community Park Rest Area. If you've read this resolution is needed to apply for a grant with the Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism, and it's going to develop a play area in the Brentwood community. Do I have any discussion or motions?
Move passage.
I have a motion to pass to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan, a second by J.P. Wilson. Any further discussion? Any public comments? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item number 12 will move to the full quorum court. Item number 13 is an ordinance to establish a grant fund to be called Rental Assistance-ERA 2, number 3526, and to recognize revenue in the amount of $2,268,542.84 in the Rental Assistance ERA 2 grant fund for 2021. Any discussion or motions? J.P. Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I am curious, I understand this to be in addition to the $7.1 million we previously had for rental assistance. And so this is adding another $2.2 million to take us up to in the neighborhood of $9.3 million for that purpose. I'm understanding also that we want to keep this money in a segregated account. Do we have any idea how we're doing in assisting people in our county with rental assistance? In other words, have we given out $3 million? Have we done $2 million? That's my question.
I believe the answer to those is both. These are additional funds, and Treasurer Hill has requested a new account to put these in to segregate them from the original. I don't have the most current information on the rental assistance. Chief of Staff Lester, do you have anything you'd like to add to that piece of the conversation?
Yes, I had that information. I got that information last week, from what I understand, and I don't have the exact figures with me, but Fayetteville Housing has a little over about $330,000 left that they have yet to spend. And I think Springdale Housing Authority is sitting on about $1 million still that they have remaining. The county has recently, as you know, got a platform and is working on getting those monies out as well. So far, we've had about 60 applicants, but it's still in early stages of going through the vetting process. And those are the people that have applied. Honestly, I can't tell you off the top of my head how many have completed the application process. A lot of times you have to get more information. So we're still in that process with our platform. I'm starting to get some of that stuff out.
Any further discussion or questions? Is there a motion? Oh, okay. Cool.
Thank you very much. My question is, my understanding is that the county has kind of taken on the role of doing this themselves. And when there are multiple agencies, I think I counted 13 or 14 different agencies in Northwest Arkansas that right now, currently, you can get rental assistance through. And I'm just curious as to why we decided to start doing that ourselves rather than working through an agency. And then the second thing is, how are we getting the word out? How's that being administered? And how many people have actually applied with the county themselves thus far?
Well, like I said, 60 people have applied with the county thus far. As far as the agencies, we have partnered with the 2 agencies that are authorized to give out federal funding that have to keep up with that funding. No doubt there are probably a lot of agencies that do rental assistance. We are mandated by federal law on the type of reporting that we have to provide to the feds. Because the money's given to us, you know, if those numbers aren't kept properly, then that falls back on us on repaying money that we're not able to report appropriately. So the judge made the decision to utilize the 2 agencies who are familiar with the reporting requirements and who have experience with that. And so the county added a platform itself in an attempt to get this money out as quickly as possible and into areas that may not be targeted by the Springdale Housing Authority and the Fayetteville Housing Authority.
Just to follow up on that, so this is in addition to, we're going to continue to work with Springdale and Fayetteville Housing Authority as well as do this ourselves. Is
That's
that
correct. That's correct. And there's been no determination made on exactly what the split of this money and how it's going to go. Because one, you can't really do anything until it's been appropriated, but those are discussions that the administration will have with Fayetteville Housing and Springdale Housing to determine how we best utilize this money. And then as time goes on, other, monies that are unspent, we certainly, our goal, the goal of the county is to get every bit of this money out, all $9 million. And so that's ultimately what we want to do because it doesn't benefit us. We don't get to keep it. And so, I think there was a lot of anticipation early on that this money would fly out really fast and within a few months we'd be done. And unfortunately, that's not happening. So we're hoping that by the county getting out, and the county will continue to advertise and to work within the underserved communities and a lot of our minority communities to get the message out that we have this money as well. You can apply with the county. You can apply with Fayetteville, you can apply with Springdale. So hopefully we can continue to get this money out as quickly as possible.
J.P. Simons.
Thank you, Chair. I will say this, I've got to applaud Washington County for their efforts in getting this out to the minority community. I've seen multiple pages, Facebook page and a website dedicated in Spanish, and I know that resource has been provided to Telemundo and Univision to go out. So thank you for your efforts there.
J.P. Wilson.
I move for the approval of this ordinance with the due pass recommendation to go forward to the full quorum court.
I have a motion to pass by J.P. Wilson, a second by J.P. Duncan. Any further discussion? Any public comments?
Thank you, Chairman. Beth Koger, Fayetteville. I just want to say that in answer to J.P. Usry's questions about how much has gone out from the county, I don't want to put Treasurer Hill on the spot here, but he's the one who cuts the checks. So if the committee wants to know how many checks have been cut, he could answer that question. Thank you.
Evelyn Rio, Stafford, Fayetteville. I just wanted to clarify some of the total numbers. If you kind of scroll up in the in the ordinance there. My understanding is that in total, rental assistance between the CARES Act that we got previously and this money that's coming through the American Rescue Plan Act, that the grand total that we're eventually going to get is $12.7 million. Is that correct, Mr. Lester? Because I think we've... Yeah, the 5.6 million. Because my understanding is right now we've gotten 2.2, which brings us to 9 point something now. But on top of that, we're going to eventually get another 3 million out of the ARP. So just wanted to clarify. At least that's my understanding. Is we're going to get a total of 12.7 in rental assistance money. Thanks.
Further public comment? I have a motion to pass by J.P. Wilson, a second by J.P. Duncan. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Item 13.1 moves to full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 14, an ordinance recognizing additional revenue of $9,087.50 in the Rural Community Grant Fund and appropriating $9,087.50 from the Rural Community Grant Fund to the Round Mountain Volunteer Fire Department budget for 2021. This is a grant that the county applied for the Round Mountain Volunteer Fire Department to get turnout gear, and we've received that grant, and this is to move that grant over so it can be allocated. Do I have any discussion or motions? J.P. Duncan?
Move we pass 14.1 to the quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass item 14.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan, a second by J.P. Simons. Any further discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Item 14.1 will move to the full quorum court. Item number 15, an ordinance anticipating additional revenue in the amount of $75,000 in the Rural Community Grant Fund for 2021 and appropriating said amount to the Road Department for 2021. This is a grant application. I believe we get this pretty regularly. Is that almost yearly? Do I have any discussion, questions, or motions? J.P. Duncan?
I move passage of 15.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Wilson. Any further discussion? Any public comments? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 15.1 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item 16, an ordinance anticipating additional revenue in the amount of $15,445 in the Law Enforcement Grant Fund and appropriating $15,445 from the Law Enforcement Grant Fund to the JAG grant budget for 2021. Any questions or motions? J.P. Duncan?
I move passage of 16.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Johnson. Any discussion? Public comments? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Item 16.1 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Item number 17, an ordinance appropriating $21,000 from the unappropriated reserves and the general fund to various line items in the Circuit Court 8 budget for 2021. The Circuit Court 8 handles juveniles that are charged as adults. And in that realm, it is possible that they might have some jury trials. And so this was not included in the new budget for the Circuit Court 8 judge. And so this is appropriating money in the plans or the anticipation of possibly having jury trials to cover those costs. Judge Warren has told me they currently have 2 jury trials scheduled for the year, and of course with the possibility of more. Judge Warren is in attendance tonight if you have additional questions. If not, I'll entertain a motion. J.P. Duncan.
Move we pass 17.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
I have a motion to pass by J.P. Duncan, second by J.P. Simons. Any further discussion? J.P. Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Who are we feeding?
The jurors.
Okay, well, then we don't pay them very well, or we feed them very, very well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Any public comments? Seeing none, I have a motion on the floor to pass item number 17 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by J.P. Duncan, a second by J.P. Simons. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Item 17 will move to the full quorum court. Item number 18, an ordinance appropriating $82,252.06 from the unappropriated reserves in the fund indicated to the fire and extended coverage line items in various budgets for 2021. I believe this is monies needed to cover additional increases in insurance. Do we have any questions or motions? J.P. Duncan?
Move passage of 18.1 to the full quorum court.
I have a motion to pass item 18.1 by J.P. Duncan, a second by J.P. Wilson. Any further discussion or questions? J.P. Simons.
Thank you, Chair. So being in the industry, I'm fully aware of increases in insurance rates. What is the county's process of bidding this out? How frequently and how often does that get put out to bid?
Chief of Staff Lester or Mr. Driver, would you like to address that question?
This increase in premium is for the property coverages for the county that began July 1, and this is to extend it through the end of this year. We'll begin the bidding process at the end of August for calendar year 2022. As you know, being very familiar with the industry, we got hit with a 77% rate increase due to the fact that we've got it now an 1,800% loss ratio. And that's due to the $3.3 million storm damage claim from 2020. So that's where we are, and that's what this increase in funding is to cover the increase in premium for the next 6-month period.
So this $82,000 is prorated for the end of this year?
Yes, that's correct. We've looked in the fact that we're in such a hard insurance market right now, especially in the commercial area, that I think the only comment that I would make at this point is I'm just fortunate, I think we're fortunate that we have insurance. With a claim that size, I think we're fortunate that we didn't get dropped. We've checked other insurance sources as far as preliminary to bidding, and we've gotten figures that are just incredibly outrageous. Something that we haven't been able to even touch at this point. 6-month figures that are like $450,000.
What's the process of that? How often do we put that out to bid? Is it
Every
is it
other
yearly?
year.
Every other year?
Yes. The quorum court passed ordinances, I'm trying to think of what year. You have to help me out. I can't remember what year. It was 2015, 16, somewhere around in there, requiring the bidding process. And this is something that had not been done in decades, literally up until the year 2000. That's when we finally started bidding the insurance programs out. And the way it is set up, that every other year we bid the property, and on off years we bid the TPA services for the health fund, the group life insurance program, et cetera. So they're done every other year.
Obviously, there's not too many entities here local that can support municipalities and counties the size that Washington County is, and that issue's made exacerbated by recent claims. So I don't know if we have much options, but I'm glad to hear that we're at least shopping that out.
We're not going to stop looking.
J.P. Johnson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to make sure I understand. They're raising the premium because of claims we've made that they haven't paid. Is that
Yes.
correct?
That's correct. We are in the claims process. And I'm not making this, so please don't take this wrong. I'm not making this as a tongue-in-cheek remark, but welcome to the insurance industry. The claims are still outstanding. They will be paid, but yes, they are charging us for this next period.
Any additional questions for Mr. Driver? Any further discussion? Public comments? Thank you, Mr. Driver.
Mr. Driver, I just had a question for you, so I'll come up and say Robert Dennis, JP, Farmington. When do you say or recommend that you become self-insured?
Really, in the property and the
Just a
amount of
second.
property that we...
We're gonna need you guys to speak into the
Okay.
mic for the audience too.
My question is, when does it get to the point where you become self-insured and actually come out ahead? Otherwise, if you put all that money aside and said, okay, this is our premiums, this is what we're gonna save back to pay claims, and we become self-insured. There's companies who do self-insurance, I'm sure.
That is absolutely correct. And that's one of the things that we look at every few years. That is the one thing that led us initially to go from a fully insured program on the health to a self-funded health program. The first year that we did that, the county saves somewhere between $700,000 and $900,000 a year being self-funded on the health plan. Because any insurance company that you hire to come in and put in a fully insured program is going to take a look at our loss records and our loss histories, and they're immediately going to add 40% on top of that, and that's going to be the premium, minimum premium that you're going to pay them, with no guarantee that that's all. When you start talking about self-funding programs, self-insured programs on property, these are some things we've looked at several times in the past. It has not been feasible thus far. The way the insurance market is now, being such a hard market, and it goes through cycles. It's something that we probably should look at again. I don't think the county's ready for it financially. You get a tiered program, and a tiered program, just basically what I'm talking about, is you have attachment points. For lack of a better term, you got a great big deductible. And that's what you're forced, to play with the first time. And then you've got a stop loss for any one given claim. Once it hits a certain level of catastrophic loss, then excess insurance would kick in and start paying at that point. And that's basically the way that the self-insured programs work.
Any additional questions? Did that?
Thank you. You've answered my
You're
question to
welcome.
some degree, but I think it's something that we need to start thinking about. You reach a point where you can afford to do your own.
Right.
It can cost you, and it's a gamble, but paying that kind of premiums out is also costing us as well. Thank you.
Thank you. JP Simons?
Thank you, Chair. JP Duncan, I think you're right. It is a gamble, and knowing the claims loss history in this particular area, Washington County, we haven't done the budget yet, but I don't see the money there to be comfortable rolling the dice on that kind of gamble.
Additional public comments? I have a motion on the floor by JP Duncan to pass item 18 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Doesn't mean you like it. And a second by JP Wilson. Is that correct? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Item number 18 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. We added item number 19, which was pre-printed and handed out to all the JPs. It's item number 21-0-079. It's an ordinance appropriating $65,000 from the road fund unappropriated reserves to the capital machinery and equipment line item for the road department budget for 2021. What this is the road department is has sold a John Deere tractor, and they want to use those funds to buy 2 dump belly trailers for the road department. Any discussion or motions on this ordinance? JP Duncan?
Move passage of item 19.1.
I have a motion to pass item 19.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Second by JP Wilson. Any further discussion or questions? Any public comments? No public comments. I have a motion on the floor to pass item 19.1 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation by JP Duncan, a second by JP Wilson. All those in favor? Those opposed? Item 19.1 will move to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. JP Duncan.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we add items number 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and new number 19 to consent agenda for the quorum court.
I have a motion to pass items listed to the consent agenda for the full quorum court by JP Duncan, a second by JP Johnson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those items will be added to the consent agenda. The final item on our agenda is a public comment period. We have a 12-minute public comment period. Limit 3 minutes per person. Public comment.
Thank you. Sarah Moore, Fayetteville. I just wanted to reignite the conversation that we were having in regard to what JP Rhea Stafford brought forward about a hybrid meeting. We just heard the coroner and we passed funding to support additional equipment to collect bodies in regard to the pandemic. And we're hearing about the Delta variant and are concerned about numbers spiking. And so I think it might behoove us, we're hearing even people being vaccinated, that maybe we should be wearing masks as some of the guidance we're starting to begin to hear. And so in the effort to social distance and to allow community members that are immune compromised going forward and have young children at home that, 12 and under or under 12 cannot be vaccinated and have concerns about those loved ones, I would really invite our JPs to have a more robust conversation about how we facilitate allowing all of the community members in Washington County to stay safe and still engage in their government process. So I hope that you guys will think about that and consider putting an ordinance forward to have a better conversation in regard to doing that. Thank you.
Public comment. Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.